last couple months of owning my 2017 Audi S3, so pretty much, well, since I bought it, have been pretty stressful, and for the most part, that's been through no fault of the cars. But today I wanted to give you guys an update on this thing because I've had a lot that's been going on that I haven't even talked about on the channel yet. And as you can tell from the title, I've finally kind of beaten these warranty companies, these insurance companies. At least I'm calling it a victory for myself because I've finally been able to fight to get what I deserve and what I think I should get in regards to things that have gone wrong with this car. There's two major things that have been going on with this car. As a lot of you are probably already aware of, about 2 weeks after I purchased this car, so I think back in early March it was, I took this car to California on kind of its first road trip. On my way back, I stopped at Numa to get gas, and there was a 93-year-old man towing like a 30-foot RV trailer. Took a turn too sharp and totally clipped my entire front end on the car. So since the past couple months, up until about a week and a half ago, I've been dealing with insurance, trying to get all this stuff approved. Long story short, the estimated damage at first was almost $8,000. And when I first got an estimate from the insurance company, they estimated it at like $1,500 or $1,700 or something like that. Eventually I had to get someone to come out and look at the car, and then they were trying to say stuff like, oh, we're not even going to replace it with factory parts. I'm like, they don't even make Chinese parts for these cars anyways. Even the body shop told me that. So good news is they couldn't find Chinese parts, so they will be replacing everything with OEM parts, meaning I will be getting a new hood, a new fender, a new headlight, and then there's just very minor damage on the bumper, so that can be repaired with like Bondo or just, you know, Bondo and like some respray. So they're going to be repainting all of that. Obviously, they're going to be blending it to match this fender and the other door as well, so it should look brand new. Now, by the time you guys are seeing this video, it should be Wednesday, which means that today, actually, as of you're watching this video, the day it's uploaded, this car just got dropped off to be repaired. I'm not sure how long it'll be, but I guess we'll see. So that wraps up everything in regards to the body damage I wanted to provide you guys an update on. So this next item here is something that I have been very reluctant to even talk about on the channel because I know a lot of people are going to say, I told you so, you shouldn't have done this. But I have been dealing with a couple of mechanical issues with this car so far as well, and I want this video to serve as a real life proof as to why you should be very, very wary buying from a company like Carvana and buying a car that you can't actually look at in person or have it inspected by your own mechanic before you actually spend $40,000 on it. So I know the Saab fanboys are probably going to crucify me here and say I told you so, but the S3 is having a couple very minor mechanical issues. So long story short, I actually took the car to California again probably about a month ago, and just for fun, you know, before I always take my cars on road trips, I always just kind of look around at the engine bay, check the tire pressure, all those basic things, make sure it's all good to go. And I did notice when I pulled the little plastic engine cover off that there was just a little bit of oil around the back of the valve cover. It wasn't like it was pouring oil out of the valve cover or anything, but there's definitely a little bit of oil back there. It could have been there for the last 2 years, who knows, but there was certainly just a little bit of oil there. I figured, you know, whatever, not a big deal, I'll keep my eye on it. Actually, it happened to be that the following week I was taking the car into Audi for its servicing, which included a oil change, new air filter, new spark plugs, the DSG service, which is the transmission. Thankfully, that was all covered under Audi Care, so that was a $1,100 bill. That was no charge to me, thankfully, just because the previous owner had bought an Audi Care up to 50,000 miles. So when I took it into Audi, I said, hey, can you guys take a look at this valve cover leak, you know, maybe get me an estimate on having it fixed, because the valve cover on these is obviously, because it's a new car, why would it be simple, is more complicated than a valve cover would be on my 9.3 when I did that, which was about an hour job. So they're like, yeah, sure, we'll take a look at it. You know, they normally put the car up on a lift anyways, check everything out. They send you a nice little video kind of going over the whole car, which I thought was very nice. Their customer service has been amazing at Audi of Peoria. One thing they did tell me when I went to pick the car up and showed me the video was that there was some coolant starting to come out of the water pump and thermostat, which is just about the only weak point on this platform and these MQB, this MQB platform and these motors is the water pump and thermostat. I'm like, okay, I guess get me an estimate on all this stuff. So the water pump and thermostat was about $1,600, and the valve cover was, I think, another $1,500 or $1,600. So over $3,000 in repairs, and I'm like, oh geez. So I'm like, okay, well the car's still under its limited warranty. It's under that for 100 days since I bought it, or to about 34,000 miles. So I was still about 1,500 miles under the limit, as well as I still had about 2 months until the warranty expired at that point. And I should also notice that these aren't like leaks where they're leaving fluid on the ground yet. But if this wasn't dealt with, I'm sure in 6 months it would be a leak that would be leaving fluid on the ground. Even Audi said that. They're like, look, if you don't want to do it now, I wouldn't worry about it, but it might be something you need to do in 6 months to a year. So I figured, well, if it's something that is going to fail, why am I not going to try and get it fixed now when it's under warranty? Because chances are both these issues did not happen right after I bought the car. They most likely happened before the car was even in my possession. So Audi's like, okay, we can submit a claim to Silver Rock, who's the warranty company through Carvana. We can submit a claim to them and see if we can get these covered for you. And I'm like, okay, great. So they went ahead, did that. Silver Rock denied both of them because they were seeps and not leaks. So I read up and down my warranty, and the warranty says it covers everything except for body damage, modifications, interior parts breaking, and regular wear and tear items like brakes, oil changes, things like that. And I'm like, well, you know what? It literally says in your warranty here that you cover mechanical failures. And in my opinion, if a seal fails to the point where fluid is coming out of places where it shouldn't be, that is a mechanical failure in my opinion. So I argued with Silver Rock on the phone for probably about 30 minutes. This was about 3 weeks ago at this point. They were just like, yeah, sorry, we're not going to help you, whatever. So at that point I was kind of pretty bummed out. I was like, geez, so I could be looking at a pretty expensive repair bill, even though this car is still under warranty. And I know you guys are gonna be like, well, this is just a sign of things to come. You bought a total lemon, you're gonna be broke trying to own this thing. Like, just, no. These are very reliable cars, especially when you keep up on maintenance. Like, this car has a very good maintenance history. I've already taken it in for a maintenance before it was even due for it. So like I said, the water pump and thermostat is just about the only failure point on these cars. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get out in front of the hate before it even comes. Anyways, to continue where I left off. So Silver Rock denied the claim. I called them. Audi was like, if you want, you can bring it in again. We can try and force it to leak by pressure testing it, things like that. So I ended up doing that. They submitted it again. It kind of looked a little bit worse, but of course Silver Rock still denied it. So at this point I'm like, well, now, what do I do? So I went ahead and I got the idea to look at the inspection report that Carvana provides when you buy the car. They on every listing they have a 150-point inspection. So I'm like, I'm gonna look through that just to see if it says anything about thermostat, water pump, valve cover, anything like that. Where it said water pump and thermostat, it showed that the car passed, which to me means that it is not leaking, it is functioning as it should. So I took that as, well, this is kind of evidence I can use against Carvana. There wasn't anything in there that specifically stated valve cover, and I was more concerned about the thermostat and water pump anyways. So what I did is I called Carvana and I'm like, hey, so you guys said on your inspection report that this car was good for the thermostat and the water pump. So why did you say it was good, and now less than 2 months later and like 2,000 miles on the car, why is it leaking fluid? And it was denied by your insurance company or your warranty company for repairs. So their customer service was very good. They ended up putting me on hold, talked to some supervisors, whatever, came back to me and said, okay, so we can give you an exception, is what they called it, for this repair, meaning that they're pretty much going to forward this to Silver Rock and tell Silver Rock they have to cover it. Then I called them again this past Friday, and Silver Rock, I called Silver Rock this time instead of Carvana. They're like, oh yeah, we received it yesterday and we approved it. I'm like, okay, great. Like, I didn't get a call or email or anything like they said they would, but that's fine. It ended up getting sorted out in the end. And they said, yeah, so it looks like I have the claim here, or the exception for the water pump, the thermostat, and the valve cover gasket. I'm like, oh, valve cover gasket? I just like played it cool. I'm like, oh yeah, that's totally what I was expecting. So good news is, in the end, it looks like The valve cover gasket is also going to be replaced. That also means that Audi is going to need the car for an additional day. So I'm going to be taking this car in Monday morning and picking it up probably like Tuesday night, and they're going to do the valve cover, the thermostat, water pump, all of that, and I will have to pay $50 for that. Because with Silver Rock, if you do something in network with them, and their in network places are like Amco, Jiffy Lube, places like that, and nothing against those places, but I don't really want to take this car to one of those shops just to save $50. So I figure it's worth it going to the actual Audi dealership, which has been great customer service anyways to begin with, and just pay a $50 deductible to know that it's going to be done in the best way possible to the highest standard possible. Thank you guys all so much for your support. Again, I wouldn't even be able to purchase this car if it wasn't for the support I get from you guys on this channel. I hope you all enjoyed this kind of a story time video, something like that. Let me know what sorts of videos you want to see on the channel, whether it be with my 9.3 or the S3 when I get it back. God knows when, but this will obviously be the last video on this car until I get it back from the body shop. So I'm excited for that. Like I said, it's going in the day that you guys are watching this video most likely. So if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you all next time.